And welcome back to This Week. I am pleased to be joined by Bob Tuke, the Democratic nominee for the United States Senate. Welcome, and thank you for your time.
Well, it's great to be back. It feels like old times sitting here with you.
We appreciate that very much. In the full interest of disclosure, we should say we invited the incumbent Republican Senator Lamar Alexander to be part of this discussion in either a joint appearance with Mr. Tuke or to come in separately. The Alexander campaign notified us that his schedule is full and he would be declining. So in the full interest of disclosure, Senator Alexander was invited to be part of this discussion jointly or to take part separately a little later, and he has declined both. In that vein, as you look at this race, as we get close to election, we're less than 2 weeks out now, what do you see is going to be the defining issue, not in the presidential race, not in any other race, in the race between Bob Tuke and Lamar Alexander?
Oh, I think definitely the economy, the bailout, the Wall Street bailout, the way we're responding to that, the way the U.S. government is responding, the way the Congress responded, and the additional work that needs to be done. And here's what I mean. When Secretary Paulson first announced his desire for a $700 billion blank check, Senator Alexander was all about that and favored it, and a number of us thought that that was hasty, to say the least. Even Republican Bob Corker said, whoa, wait a minute, we need to study this. And the way this has evolved over the weeks is that the United States happily, I think, has backed off from that sort of blank check proposal that Paulson started with, and instead we now are following the British lead of investing in some of our most important commercial banks, which is what I was saying we needed to do all along, because this essentially is a mortgage problem. The problem arose from the so-called subprime mortgages, which were grew from that. And the way to solve it is with the commercial banks. So the commercial banks are the ones that do the essential lending in the world. And so as long as the commercial banks are lending to one another and they're backed, then I think that's the best way out of this credit crunch. And it appears that it's beginning to work.
As a former Marine, as a veteran, you have concerns with veterans. You obviously have interests and are keeping attuned to the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. In those veins, what needs to be done to improve the conditions for war veterans, not only here in Tennessee, but nationally?
Well, veterans, first of all, need to be taken care of because they've earned it. I think some people try to look at it as something that's some kind of a giveaway, and it's not. It's earned. So number one, the health care needs to be assured. And Senator Alexander has voted against full funding for the Veterans Administration again and again and again. I think he finally voted for it this time. He also voted against and spoke against the 21st Century GI Bill, another benefit for veterans that's earned, which is to send them to college after they've done their service. Now, ultimately, he voted for it after it already had 70 votes. But these are the kinds of things that when people serve this country, they have earned the right to have health care, and they certainly have earned the right to have additional training and education when they get out. In addition to that, one of the things that really concerns me as a Marine veteran is that we have sent our troops overseas too many times. These multiple deployments really hurt not only the men and women who have to undergo that, endure that, but also their families, their businesses, their communities, and the military units themselves. Military units, I'm glad we're deploying by unit now instead of individually as we did when I was in Vietnam. But military units need time to retool, refit, get ready to go again. And my fellow Marine veteran Jim Webb, Democrat from Virginia, proposed a bill that would have required anyone who was deployed to be home at least as long as his or her last deployment. And Senator Alexander voted against that, as did some other Republicans who blocked it. And, you know, I think that's a shame. And Senator Alexander chose not to serve in our generation's war and avoided service in the military, and that was his choice. But I don't believe that people who failed to serve need to be blocking legislation that benefits people who do.
Early voting has started. Some are already going to the polls. What do you tell the people as you meet them, the difference between Bob Tuke and Lamar Alexander? As you well know, Lamar Alexander, a very popular two-term governor, going now for his second term in the United States Senate. This is an uphill climb for you, so you have to tell them, here's why you need to support me.
First and foremost, it's time for a change. It truly is. And things have been going along in Washington for these last 8 years, frankly, I think, with disastrous results. We've been in this war too long. We've got this economic disaster we're facing. We've got no energy policy whatsoever. We continue to be nowhere, as you just pointed out, in immigration. We have all of these things that should have been done, none of which have been done. We've lost 43,000 jobs in Tennessee since Senator Alexander has been in office, largely because of trade deals that were negotiated but never enforced on the other side. So that, for example, in Mexico, they didn't raise their labor standards or environmental standards, which is what they were supposed to do under NAFTA. So I will do these things. I'll get in there and apply the knowledge I have after being a financial sector lawyer for 30 years. I know about banking, bank holding companies, investment banks, the way they ought to be regulated but aren't. I understand about veterans affairs and military matters. Frankly, I have the benefit of that background and interest, and clearly Senator Alexander doesn't. And I understand about the need in this state especially to pursue green energy, renewable energy. We've got all these resources in Tennessee. We've got Arison down in Chattanooga making wind towers for wind energy. We've got Sharp Manufacturing making components for solar panels in Memphis. We've got opportunities that really, really give Tennessee especially a chance in this renewable energy age to create new jobs and new wealth in Tennessee. So it's all new, it's all change, and that's what I'm about.
Bob Tuke, Democratic nominee for the United States Senate. We appreciate your thoughts and your insight.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Stay